Are you looking to get on the road to your dream career? You're in the right place. Welcome to the Mentor Select Podcast with your host, Derek Phillips. Always stay up to date on social media at Mentor Select and online at mentorselect.com. Here's your host of the Mentor Select Podcast, Derek Phillips.
Welcome to episode 72 of the Mentor Select Podcast. I'm thrilled that you're able to join us this week. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share the Mentor Select Podcast with your family, friends, coworkers, anyone who you feel can benefit from high-quality virtual mentorship. Don't forget to check out my book, Poverty Powerball, Turn Adversity into Your Winning Ticket. It's available on Amazon, and essentially I provide the blueprint to help you overcome any adversity that you're facing and identify the valuable life lessons that we gain from going through hardships. Today, you're in for a phenomenal treat. We have the Toastmasters 2019 World Champion of Public Speaking, Mr. Aaron Beverly. And he's going to share with us his journey from first competing to actually winning the whole contest. Also, he's going to share with us just the importance of communication and the role it's played in his personal and professional life. I won't keep you waiting any longer. Let's hear from the world champ. Today, we have the 2019 World Champion of Public Speaking, Aaron Beverly, on the Mentor Select Podcast. How are you, Aaron?
I'm pretty good, Derek. How about yourself?
I'm doing great, especially it's the first time I'm talking to a world champ, so I'm really excited about that. Have you gotten used yet to being called the champ?
I've gotten used to it, although sometimes I still look over at my desk, see the trophy, and say, wow, I actually did it.
Yeah, that's great. We're certainly going to learn more about your journey doing that. But on the Mentor Select Podcast, Aaron, we like to get to know our guest mentors better. Can you tell us something that most people don't know about you?
Something that people don't know about me is that I love to travel. Okay. I have a goal to step foot on all 7 continents, and right now I am at 5. The only ones left are Antarctica and Africa. Wow. Deep down, I really want to save the motherland for last, but Antarctica is a little bit tougher to get to. Antarctica may have to be last.
Say the best for last. Something I can relate to. I've been to 37 countries so far.
Wow, nice.
I can say my favorite is Egypt. Seeing the pyramids, that was something amazing. What's been your favorite country so far?
My favorite country so far has been India. And of course, the first time, we'll probably talk about it a little bit later, story that ended up winning me the World Championship of Public Speaking. But earlier this year, I went back to India for a speaking event, and it was just incredible. And it wasn't the sightseeing or anything like that, the tourism. It was really just engaging with the people. It was just a great experience.
Wow, I can imagine. Yeah, we're certainly going to find out more about India. Well, Aaron, on the Mentor Select Podcast, we encourage our listeners to follow their passions because we believe it'll lead them to their dream career. Can you tell us how you're following your passions?
I have a deep love of public speaking and communication. I grew up hating public speaking. I wanted nothing to do with public speaking. The only reason why I spoke in front of an audience was because I had a dictator in the family named Mom. And he always made sure that if the opportunity presented itself, that I was going to go out and speak in front of people. It wasn't until I got to college that I really understood why you needed to get better at public speaking. It was through a traumatic experience where I got in front of a large group of people and completely forgot what I was supposed to say. Terribly embarrassing, but fortunately, I learned about an organization called Toastmasters International, which is an organization that is worldwide in over 140 countries around the world. It helps people build their communication and their leadership skills in a safe environment. You get a safe place to practice, you get a safe place to fail, you get a safe place to try again. And that was the process. I stumbled, I failed, I got up, got feedback, and I tried again. And I began to learn that I really like public speaking. I like to express myself. I consider myself an introvert, and I realized that public speaking was probably the best activity that an introvert like myself could do. because it allowed me to express myself in a way that I wasn't normally able to outside of the stage. So because it was my passion, I decided to pursue it more. I started speaking in more events. I started to compete in contests. And then ultimately that led to me winning the World Championship of Public Speaking.
Wow, that's awesome. So can you give the listeners a little more context on what is the World Championship of Public Speaking?
Every year, Toastmasters International has a international speech contest. This is a 6-round contest, and it's held for about the span of 8 months. About 30,000 people could start at the beginning of the contest, and through the 6 rounds, they crown the world champion of public speaking. I've competed in it since 2012, and in 2016, I came close. I placed second in the world. Then 3 years later, 2019, I was able to win the whole thing.
Wow. So a burning question I've had when I saw you win, and I knew I saw you in previous contests, like, well, he's been at it for a while.
Yeah.
So once you placed second, what gave you the drive to keep going and versus saying, that's good enough. Second place in the world, that's good enough.
Well, there were many things really, but the biggest factor I would say was because of my love and passion for public speaking. When I left the stage in 2016, I didn't feel like I gave it my all. I didn't give it everything that I had. I left something on the table, and I wanted to rectify that. So I was competing in 2017, 2018, and funny thing was I started to regress in terms of my progress in the contest. 2017, I got to the semifinals, but couldn't get out of the semifinals. Then the following year, I couldn't even make it out of round 4. And I started to really get depressed in some sense because I wasn't making progress. But on the flip side, I was getting better because every single year, my goal was to execute my speech the way that I wanted to execute it.
Okay.
And then finally, in 2019, I focused solely on my growth as a speaker. I set goals for myself in every round to execute my speech the best that I could, to get better every round. And then I was finally able to get back to the World Championship. And an interesting story about that is 2016 stage and the 2019 World stage were identical stages. Every year, Toastmasters is there, but 2016 and 19 were identical. And it was as if fate was saying, okay, Aaron, I'm giving you a second chance.
Yeah, you left it all on the table, all on the stage. Yeah, it's remarkable. And that brings up a really good point. Regret is something that's everlasting if you don't at least attempt to redeem yourself. I still have regret from high school running track. Like, man, I didn't leave it all on the track. I never gave it my all. I'm still regretting that. So also regression in terms of nothing's guaranteed, especially when you're competing. I've experienced the same thing, like where I've placed high in contests and we're close to the international level, but like come back the next year and I'm doing worse than I did before. But it just goes, you have to work for it every year, every time out.
Exactly.
You're a shining example of that. For the listeners, certainly check out your speech if they haven't heard it. The World Championship speech. It's amazing on YouTube. So tell us the inspiration behind that speech.
Yeah. So to give you some context for those listening, my World Championship speech that I gave in Denver, where the Toastmasters International Convention was held, I told a story about going to India and attending a friend's wedding. And I'm the only African American in attendance. And the groom is Caucasian and the bride is Indian. So they have their own families. And I'm the only one that's different. So I try to blend in, and I even play a game that they typically play in an Indian wedding. And it involves protecting the groom's shoes from the bridesmaids. And hijinks ensue. I'm not going to reveal so much, but ultimately I came to realize that I was embraced and I was accepted. Me being different from everybody else didn't really matter. And I wanted to stress the point that people can accept differences and still get along.
That's very important, especially in the climate we live in today, especially political climate.
Yeah.
As far as
Absolutely.
tolerance, acceptance, I can see how that universal message won you the trophy, because it was something that we all can relate to, and we all need to work on being more tolerant and just accepting people. And I love that you recently shared on your Facebook page your 2016 speech. And you talked about what you learned from that experience. Can you tell us about that?
In 2016, I really was focused on, I wouldn't say I was totally focused on like material things like trophies and everything like that, but I was really trying to find the motivation to really connect with people on stage and really perform the way that I wanted to perform. And what ended up happening was that I learned that in order to make that connection, in order to enjoy the stage as much as possible and still do well in the contest, you really needed to be yourself. I remember when I first wrote the speech in 2016 that got me to the World Championship for the first time, I didn't think anybody was going to like that speech. I thought that they were going to think it was too basic, that it was too simple. I gave it for the first time in 2015. I used it in the 2015 contest. I got to round 4, but couldn't get out of round 4. Now, one would think that I would just say, okay, that speech didn't work, throw it away. But somebody came up afterwards and he said, Aaron, that was the best speech that I've ever heard you give. Keep in mind that I had made it to the semifinals the prior 2 years. And yet, he's telling me that this speech that couldn't even get out of round 4 was the best speech that I ever gave.
That's a valuable insight.
Exactly. So I took that speech, I revised it, and then I used it the following year. And obviously, the rest is history. I made it to the World Championship that year. It became one of my favorite speeches, not because of my skill level at the time. I've exceeded my skill level from back then, but it was because that was the lesson I learned finally, to be myself on stage and have myself reflected on the stage as I talked. I am big on speaking authentically. And the reason why is because of the results of that speech.
Yeah. And that's something through my own journey where it's easier said than done. Speaking authentically is something where you really have to hone that skill. It doesn't come natural.
Oh, yeah.
And you mentioned as far as how important it is to connect with the audience. Elaborate a little more on that.
So you're absolutely right. It's not second nature to speak authentically. You would think that, oh, wait, I just get on stage and I just talk like I normally talk. Right. It sounds easy, but there are certain things that you need to think about. Number one, I can't speak to an audience exactly how I speak to my friends, because I'll let you in on a little bit of a fact about me. I actually curse like a sailor.
Would never guessed it.
I can't go up on stage and start cursing up a storm.
Right.
Because that's not what my audience wants. My audience will reject that if I give that to them. So I can't bring that side of Aaron Beverly to that audience. But I have to find a way that I can speak naturally. And the way that I do that, I don't use words that I don't normally use in my everyday vocabulary.
Okay.
So from the 4-letter and 3-letter bad words, make sure that I use simple language that I use every day when I'm talking to colleagues at work, when I'm talking to friends, when I'm talking to family. The other thing when I think about speaking authentically is my body movement. Sometimes when you're on stage, you want to act like you're on stage, and your gestures and your body movements start getting really grand. They start getting over enthusiastic.
Unnatural.
Exactly. If you look unnatural, your audience will deem you unnatural. They'll deem you inauthentic, and they will tune you out. You want to try to use the body language that you normally use. When I was on stage in 2016 and even in 2019, I did not use any overzealous gesturing. My body language was very simple. There was no gesture that I use on stage that I do not use in my everyday life. And sometimes that takes practice. You have to sometimes practice speaking authentically.
Yeah. Very good points. I'll get some valuable information from the champ. I'm taking notes. So that ties into the district director for District 50, Gaurav Shaker. I invite people to just send in some questions for the champ. And I wanted to know, once you make it to the finals, world stage, everyone is great speakers. Everyone has a good speech. But what separates the good speeches from the winning speech?
Well, honestly, this is something that a lot of people who win don't want to admit, but I'm going to consider myself a different type of champion. It really just comes down to plain dumb luck. It matters who the judges are that day. It matters what side of the bed they woke up on that day. It matters what place you speak at. And by place, I mean if you speak first, second, third, or fourth. Sometimes you can do everything that you wanted. You can do everything that you needed, but still not pull out the victory. And it just happens that it could be because of luck. I remember thinking to myself this year when I was trying not to focus on winning the championship, I wanted to focus only on what I could control. What I could not control the judges.
Right.
I could not control the skill level of my opponents. And I had to focus only on what I could control. The main thing I could control was my own growth. So that's why I set goals every single round. For instance, round 1, my goal was to simply tell a coherent speech. Okay. Round 2, I wanted to make sure that I honed that speech, edited the speech, refined it, and then executed it the way that I wanted to. And I set goals in every single round. And despite the result, even if I won or if I lost, I would still have become a better speaker because I set that goal. So that was my mentality. But when it comes to what separates the good speech from the winning speech, sometimes it's luck. But I would definitely say at the end of the day, you have to be passionate about what you're speaking on. And that passion will show through.
Yeah, that's certainly not the traditional answer you hear from the world champs, but I like it. It's authentic, it's genuine, and in reality, contests are subjective.
Exactly.
It depends on the judges and what resonates with them. And especially at that level, everyone was the great speakers. So the skill level is pretty much at the same level, but what's going to resonate with the judges? Very cool. So I wonder, so if you would not have won this year, do you think you would have kept going? In terms of if you knew, okay, this year you put everything on the line, you left it all out on the stage, do you think you would have came back and continued?
I think I would have.
Okay.
I remember after 2016, I said that I was going to take a break. I wasn't going to compete in the 2017 contest.
It's draining.
Yes, and that's one of the reasons why I did it, because it just takes a lot out of you. You work on something for about 8 months, and if you get to those later rounds, it does take those 8 months, and you're just working on it, and then you get there and you don't get the result you want. And that can definitely be draining. But in 2017, I said I was going to take a break. Then I would try again in 2018. But the contest season came and the first round actually passed. And I was regretting not competing. Yeah. Because I saw other people competing. I said, oh man, I could do that. I could do that. But what ended up happening, there are some gray areas in the Toastmaster contest rules. So one of my clubs actually didn't hold an official contest. So if you have a contest and you have an official winner, then the door's closed. There's nothing more that you can do. It has to be that winner or the second place or the third place winner of that first round.
Right.
And it proceeds to the next one. Now, since they didn't hold an official contest, they were able to elect a representative.
Okay.
They sent their representative to round 2. Now, normally, had he competed in round 2, that also would have closed the door. But for whatever reason, and it was actually one of the first times that I ever heard of this situation happening, round 2 wasn't able to be organized. And my club was the only one that even sent a representative. So they said, okay, your representative can go to round 3. So the person who was elected the representative of my club that was going to round 3, he couldn't make the contest. But since we have an official contest and we could elect a representative, he asked me, did you want to be the representative? And I said, that's fine. I am not going to. No, I am going to compete, and I will compete every single year, no matter what. I do not want to have regret. We talked about regret before.
Regret. It's everlasting, eternal.
Yep. Because there's something in the back of your mind that just says, if I competed this year, that would have been the year I won.
Before we get ready to transition to how Toastmasters has helped you professionally, I listened to an audio book that I think Mark Brown, another former world champion, had contributed to. And he talked about the importance of perspective. So based on like how far you make it in the contest, what changed as far as your perspective from the years where you didn't win to now the year that you won? How's your perspective different?
My perspective is different from my mentality when I don't get the result that I want. I will tell everybody that it is perfectly okay for you to be disappointed in a result. It's okay for you to be sad. It's okay for you to cry if you want. That's fine. You work on something so hard, you deserve to let out your emotion in whatever way. But the key is that you don't hold on to it. You don't dwell on it. You don't allow it to seep into your life in other ways. Right. So for me, the first year I competed, I was very down, but I picked myself back up, and then I started to work on the next year. And over time, I started to realize that, number one, if you lose, so what? You get to try again next year. But also, every single year I competed, I got better. Yeah. So I started to make different goals and different reasons for competing outside of winning the championship. Yeah. But it wasn't until 2019 where I totally took the championship off the board. I said, I will not make a goal to win the world championship of public speaking, where before I'd always made it a goal. But I realized, and I guess this is where my perspective really changed, winning the world championship is not a goal because you can't control anything about it. Like I said, sometimes it comes down to plain dumb luck. Now, you have to be good to be lucky, but like we said, sometimes the difference between the good speeches and the winning speech is just that luck factor. I can't control that. So I said, I'm going to control only what I can control. So I stopped making the world championship my goal, and I just started focusing on growth.
Awesome. And like I said, one of the biggest things I love about your story is how you kept persevering, kept coming back each year. And I think it's Darren LaCroix, another previous world champion, mentioned how he had a similar experience where he competed multiple years and get closer and closer, but he didn't win right away. And he talked about how, in hindsight, how that made him such a much better speaker. Like he wouldn't have been the same champion if he'd have won when he wanted to win.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
No, I completely agree 100%.
Yeah.
I think about the skill level that I was when I competed in 2012. I was such a green speaker. Had I won in 2012, I don't think that it would have reflected well for Toastmasters.
Yeah.
So going through those experiences, going through that growth, it does give you a new perspective. It does help you grow as a person, but it really helps you realize what's really important. And that is the connection with the audience. And when you have that connection with the audience, you're mining for gold there. It's what really sets you apart and what really makes people remember your speech. I don't think that had I won in 2012, people would remember my speech. They would just know, oh, he won the world championship in 2012. That's fine. But when you have a quality story, when you have a quality experience that connects, then you'll be remembered for a very long time. And one thing I'll also say about not winning, it also gives you a better story just in your personal life.
Yeah.
Had I won just in my first year, like, oh, yeah, you're great. Look, see how great I am. That would have been my story. But
Yeah.
that's not something that a lot of people will, again, talk about connection. That's not something that people would connect with. But
Right.
not winning and then trying again, then not winning again, but competing again and again until one day you finally persevere and you win. I remember I didn't listen to any of the other speeches or speakers in the World Championship this year because
Okay.
I didn't want to have them impact my mindset. So I didn't listen to any of them. But my friend told me that when I spoke, I got the loudest cheers out of anybody on the stage. And the cheers that I got when I won, it sounded as if everybody was on my side. It was because I believe a great part of it was my story.
It's a phenomenal story. So as we transition to outside of the contest, even though we've been talking about the contest and everything, a lot of those lessons apply to all aspects of life. So
Absolutely.
I kind of summarize that as embrace the process. We're going to have those failures, bumps and bruises, but that builds that substance and it adds to your story that people can resonate with. People don't resonate with you just winning all the time. They resonate with falling down, getting back up, and falling back down, getting back up. So,
Yep.
yeah, that's totally true. So tell us, how has Toastmasters impacted your life professionally?
I graduated college when the Great Recession was in full swing. And
Perfect
it was,
timing.
yeah, it was horrible timing. And not only that, I had a finance degree.
Oh,
Possibly the worst time to have a finance degree. So I could not find a job and I needed to find some way to get a leg up in the working world. What I found was that public speaking and Toastmasters allowed me to refine one of the best skills that you can possibly learn professionally in public speaking. And it was because of the Toastmaster name, I believe, that I was able to put that on my resume. I was able to provide some experience of what I did in the club, whether it was through a leadership position or whether it was a certain number of speeches done. I was able to put that on my resume, and that impressed enough people to get me interviews. I ended up as a top at Citibank for a little bit, but then I kept going with Toastmasters. I kept improving my speaking skills, and I got a job at JP Morgan. But again, it was because I was able to put Toastmasters and public speaking on my resume. When I got into the interview, I was able to utilize the skills that I learned in Toastmasters in the interview. And then I was able to get my foot in the door at one of the largest financial firms in the entire world.
Wow.
Then I wanted to get into project management. I came in as just a data analyst. I wanted to get into project management. When I wanted to get into project management, I had a problem. I didn't have any project management skills. I didn't have any project management experience. So how could I get a job in project management? I was in the cafeteria one day where I hear this sporadic clapping, and it seemed familiar because at Toastmasters, we clap a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, okay, this sounds like a Toastmasters club. So I went around to the other area of the cafeteria, and of course, they're having a demonstration meeting. So it's the first meeting that a club will have to get members involved in a Toastmasters club. I came in, I sat down in their meeting, I joined their table topic session, which is impromptu speaking. I told them that I was a Toastmaster, which then put me in a position of being valuable to them. I had these expertise of being a Toastmaster member. And what I later learned was that the club was being started by a group of project managers.
What are the odds?
So even though I was in a totally different department from the club that it was going, I was in a different department from the department that was going to be supported by the club. But because I had that experience, because I had something that they needed, they still allowed me to join. And then I just showcased, again, my skills that I learned over the years. And I utilized the networking opportunity to talk to those project managers All I did was ask, hey, what do you do? That simple question got me an interview, which led to a project management position.
Wow, that is incredible. And it just shows the value of Toastmasters and the value of developing those communication and leadership skills. And
Yeah.
that's a big thing that basically people who don't know about Toastmasters or just vaguely know about it, think, okay, they teach you communication skills, but the other component is they teach you leadership skills, which are transferable to your careers, transferable to your personal life as well. Toastmasters has made me a better father, better husband, especially in a career as well. And also for college students, this is a good example where they may look at fraternities or sororities as a good way to network and get a leg up. Toastmasters is a great way to do that. It's one of the largest sororities and fraternities in the world.
No, that's absolutely true. I didn't have the opportunity to join a fraternity when I was in college, but the benefits of a fraternity I am still getting from Toastmasters. You get that network. People see Toastmasters, hey, you're a Toastmaster? I'm a Toastmaster. And the beauty about it is that it's worldwide. I can go to so many countries around the world and I can find a contact or a friend because of Toastmasters. It's a resource that I've used in the past. I go to a certain area and I look up a Toastmaster club. In 2016, for instance, I went to London for my sister's wedding and I looked up a Toastmasters club. I practiced what was going to be my world championship speech in 2016 at their club, and I got some valuable feedback.
Wow. That is cool. Yeah, worldwide, the reach is unlimited with Toastmasters. Yep. So for those you listening who've been on the fence about it or haven't heard about Toastmasters, certainly join clubs everywhere. Yeah, I'll forever be involved in Toastmasters just because, like you, I was an introvert, and that's why I joined Toastmasters, to get over that fear of public speaking. Look at me now. I'm hosting a podcast, talking to the world champ. So it's dreams come true, definitely. So Aaron, what's next for the world champ?
Yeah, well, I'm working on several different projects. So I do want to break into the professional speaking world a little bit more. I want to travel and speak to different audiences. I am working on building that side of my business, but I also have a passion that I'm working on right now. I talked about graduating at the worst possible time during the Great Recession. And when I was trying to find a way to get a leg up on the competition and try to get into the workforce, one of the ways I knew was public speaking. But I noticed that whenever I tried to find some type of public speaking education, somebody was always putting it behind a paywall. And the amount of money that they were charging for these programs, they're charging hundreds and in cases thousands of dollars that a broke guy that just graduated college have. So one of the things that I am trying to work on, I am building a course that I plan to release for free on YouTube. It'll be, I plan to just pour all of my public speaking knowledge into this YouTube channel. And my goal is to give you quality public speaking education and not break your wallets.
All right, that's a welcome relief. Say it can get up to the thousands of dollars, where it's great that you want to share, because your knowledge certainly is valuable. But if you just share that for free or at a low cost, that's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you don't want to price out the people that can use your content the most. Yeah. That's my view. And that's the reason why people say, like, oh, you need to create a product and sell it. No, if it's education, I am not going to sell it. I am going to give it to people for free. And if they want it, they can have it. But now, I do want to say that doesn't mean that I'm not interested in making money.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. Capitalism.
Exactly. But I do believe that there is a difference between education and what I call guided application. So if you want education, if I can take my knowledge and put it into some educational content for you, yep, that'll be free. But as soon as you ask for time, then we start going into money, because time is too valuable. So
absolutely.
you're asking me to concentrate solely on you or your entity, then that is what gets charged. So that is the keynote speech. That is the workshops. Those are the trainings. So all of that will be how I make money. So for anybody that's thinking like, oh man, he's like the Mother Teresa of public speaking.
I love that distinction, though. That's very true, given the educational part and then the applied part where you want coaching, hands-on, all that type of stuff, and you have time. You can't get that back.
Mm-hmm.
But
exactly.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. So, Aaron, wow, it's given us a lot of great golden nuggets from public speaking to, like I said, that all applies to all aspects of our lives. So I'm just really know the listeners and viewers are going to get great value from it. As we get ready to wrap up this interview, what would be some parting words of advice you want to get the Mentor Select list?
Well, I think I've alluded to it several times now, but you really want to focus on growing. A lot of times success is achieved through trial and error. It's achieved through falling down and getting back up. You really just want to make sure that whatever it is you're trying to pursue, that you have a path to grow and get better. The growth can be incremental, but over time, you'll find that when you started from point A and when you make it to point Z, that growth that you've experienced is absolutely unrecognizable. You wouldn't be able to recognize yourself from when you were at point A. Sometimes I look back at my old videos and I say, wow, I used to speak like that. But today I'm a totally different person. I'm a totally different speaker. And it's because I concentrated on growth.
Great advice. And yes, part of the process. I have to embrace it. That's really great advice. So Aaron, how can the Mentor Select listeners get in contact with you?
You can find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, or YouTube. Just look up Aaron Beverly and you will find me.
Awesome. Congrats on getting crossing 1,000 subscribers on YouTube milestone.
Yeah, we're at 1,100 now.
Oh man, keep climbing. Next time I talk to you, maybe at 1 million, but yeah, one subscriber at a time. Great. Well, Aaron, we really appreciate you taking out time to just share your whole journey with us and just your wisdom. Can't thank you enough and wish you much success in everything that you do. Thank you. That was an incredible interview with world champ, Mr. Aaron Beverly. He is such an impressive man who truly is passionate about sharing his message and helping others find their voice and really benefit from the developing their communication skills. So it truly was an honor for me to interview him and share that interview with you all. Be sure to reach out to Aaron and let him know what resonated with you about the interview. Also, if you're interested in coaching and learning more about the communication programs he's working on, just contact him via any of the social media platforms that he mentioned. If you have any trouble, just Google Toastmasters 2019 World Champ and his name, face will come up. You also get to watch his speech on YouTube. I encourage you to do that as well. But until next week, I'll be back with another guest mentor. Take care.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Mentor Select podcast, helping you identify and follow your passions. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit mentorselect.com and Mentor Select on social media. If you enjoyed today's episode, please rate and review. We'll catch you next time.